Hello, welcome. My name's Carolyn Pitts. I am an ACE certified health coach and energy healer. Every week I make a video with health and wellness information to help you be your best self. Last week we talked about how our body is energy. Everything is energy. We have a biofield of energy that radiates out from our body, and that the thoughts that we think and the emotions that we feel are also energy. This week I want to talk about the effect that the thoughts and emotions can have on our physical health, because body, mind, and spirit, it's all linked together. You can't separate it. But before I get into today's topic, I want to take a moment to say thank you to people who gave me some feedback on last week's video. I always appreciate that because I'm making these videos for you. And when you let me know that something doesn't quite resonate, it helps me to be clearer about it or provide more information, and I appreciate that. So first off, somebody asked about the science behind what I was sharing. I usually do attach some links to some information. I did not do that last week. So with that, for that particular viewer, I shared links to some scientific research, and I will also attach that to this video down in the description. One thing I will say about scientific research, actually a couple things I could say about scientific research. I think it's wonderful. I always look at it. But I think it's also helpful to take it with a grain of salt. You want to look at who did the research, what motivated them to do the research, who paid for the research, if you can find out. That's not always available. How many participants were in the study, and how recent is the research. You know, one of the things about doing research is it's very expensive. It's expensive to get the laboratory to set up the trials, to run them according to protocol, to get your research paper peer reviewed, and to get it published. And so when research is being done that's going to result in a product that could be marketed, it's a little bit easier to get the funding for that research than to get funding for research to do something to say, like, you know, you can cure yourself of a particular situation. You know, there's not a lot of people are going to pay for research to show that you can heal yourself. And then another thing to think about is that, you know, sometimes research is faulty. When I was a kid, you know, my parents smoked, and for many years, people thought that smoking was fine. When I was a kid, there were even advertisements on TV for cigarette products. It wasn't until the 1970s that it became illegal to advertise cigarettes on TV. So you might find a study that says this is the thing, but then another study will come along and say this is the thing. And so sometimes we just have to go with our gut. Another piece of feedback that I got is I talked a bit about how I used to have a chronically low vibration, and I realized I was spending a lot of time and energy either ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. And I said, you can't change the past and you can't predict the future. And one of the examples that I gave was worrying about climate change, because I figured that would resonate with a lot of you, and it did. So some of the feedback I got was, of course we should worry about climate change. And good point. I think there's an energetic distinction, and it's a fine distinction, and it's not always easy for me to articulate. But I see a difference between worrying about something and caring about something. So if I were just worrying about climate change, I might be in my head thinking, oh my goodness, is this summer going to be like last summer? Are we going to have more forest fires in Canada and smoke going everywhere? You know, that gave me such a headache for weeks last summer. And what if that happens again? And, you know, we had those record high temperatures down in the south, and people were they were dying in their homes, they were dying in their vehicles. What if it's hot like that again this summer? What's going to happen? And then I hear about the polar ice caps are melting, and that's making the sea levels rise, and we're seeing coastal flooding. And I don't live very far from the coast, and how high would the sea level have to get before it flooded where I live? And then what would I do? Where would I move? And goodness, if my house gets flooded, I wouldn't be able to sell it, and I'd lose all the equity that I have in my home. So how would I even afford to go anywhere? How does that make you feel? That's all what I would call powerlessness thinking. And it's a very low vibe emotion. It's right down there with shame and regret. So if I care about the environment, shouldn't I be thinking about those things? Well, sure. But maybe we come at it from a different perspective. I care about the environment, but my caring about the environment means I'm not sitting around worrying about worst case scenarios. I did things like I use reusable water bottles. I don't buy plastic water bottles anymore. I always carry my water with me. When I found out that food scraps in a landfill, when they decompose, make methane gas, I started composting. A friend of mine told me about these laundry detergent sheets, which I bought and started using. So they come in a box. I can easily recycle the cardboard, and I don't have that great big plastic container, which we keep hearing about. Those things aren't really getting recycled anyway. When I found out that toothpaste tubes do not decompose in a landfill, they're around forever, I started buying toothpaste tablets. Yeah, it took some getting used to. You put the tablet in your mouth, you chew it up, and then you have to hold it in your mouth, and then you brush your teeth. But hey, it keeps those toothpaste tubes out of landfills. You hear about them cutting down the rainforest to create grazing land. I stopped eating meat 10 years ago. So do you see a difference in the energy, caring, and then being motivated to do something as opposed to just worrying, which takes us down that path of being powerless, and at the end of the day does nothing to help the environment. If I worry about the environment, I say, today I'm going to worry about the environment. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just devote the whole week to worrying about the environment. At the end of the week, how does that help the environment? So I hope you see there's an energetic difference. When I talk about don't worry about something, I'm not saying just ignore it. It's not a problem. Certainly we should care about what's happening with the environment. Now, you may have some other ideas for how we can help the environment. And if you do, you're welcome to leave comments down below. This is not a video about climate change, though. That is not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is your energy and how your energy affects your health. So with that, let's move on to what I wanted to talk about today. We talked last week about low vibe thoughts and emotions, high vibe thoughts and emotions. When I am in a state of low vibe thoughts and emotions, maybe because I'm feeling regret, shame, or powerlessness, my body goes into vigilance mode. It has to do with our brain and our autonomic nervous system and something called sympathetic mode. It's part of our survival instinct. But when my brain detects that my emotions are worried, it starts to scan, what's the threat? What's the threat? Something coming at me, I need to protect myself. And all of that scanning, we're preparing our body for fight or flight. Our vision changes, our hearing changes. Energy is getting redirected all over our body. And energy for that vigilance, that scanning, has to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? Well, one place that it comes from is our digestive system. Yeah, we still keep digesting food, but we don't do it as efficiently. And what that means is we're not getting the nourishment, we're not extracting the nutrients from the food that we eat in an optimal way. And because some of our cells are not getting nourished appropriately, they're telling the brain, hey, I didn't get fed, you need to eat more. So then the next thing is, I'm feeling hungry more often because I'm not getting the nutrients that I need from my food. And my brain might say, you know what? you need to go get some food that is easy to convert to glucose, because the cells need glucose. They're screaming for glucose. Don't go eat a big salad or something with high fiber or an apple, because that takes way too long to convert to glucose. Get that soda, that donut, that piece of cake, because there's a lot of sugar in that item, and that is really easy to get converted to glucose and get it out into the bloodstream so much faster. So we start reaching for sweet treats. And then because things just aren't moving along like they should, our bowel gets a little bit cranky. You know what that's like. Another place that our body robs energy from is our immune system. Yeah, our immune system's still functioning, but again, it's not functioning at an optimal level. So it's not patrolling the body as well as it usually is. If the foreign invader, like a virus, comes in, it might be a little bit longer before the immune system detects it and responds to it. And another thing that our immune system does is it's always searching for abnormal cells. Sometimes when cells are produced, they may not be produced correctly, and there may be an abnormality, and our immune system will detect abnormal cells and kill them and flush them out of the body. But if it's not catching those abnormal cells, they can reproduce and start to flourish before the immune system finds them. And that's why there's such an important link between immune system and diseases like cancer and autoimmune disease. Another place that our body looks to get resources is cellular growth and repair. Our body's always making new blood cells, brain cells, bone cells, tissue cells. Well, it kind of cuts back on cell production so that we can spend a little bit more time searching for that threat that we would detect it in the environment. So our body's not keeping itself up in optimal health. And that's why I really encourage you to focus on the energetic vibration in your body. What are the thoughts that you're thinking, and how are they making you feel? Are you spending time reliving something that happened in the past? Are you focused on the future from a perspective of worry as opposed to a perspective of care? So that's enough for today. That was quite a bit. Come back next week. I think we'll be talking about vibration for a couple of weeks. And if you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave me a comment down below or send me an email, carolyn@carolynpitts.com, because like I said at the beginning, your feedback helps me make better videos. If you like this content, I invite you to go to intendwell.us and join our Intention Circle. Every week, members of the Intention Circle receive bonus content that I don't make available on my public channel. Thank you again for joining me. Intend peace, intend love, intend well.